I'm Joanna Foster, 35, a freelance accountant living in Madison, Wisconsin. I'd spent days carefully choosing gifts, each one thoughtful, even a custom planner for my sister, who always smirked and called my taste boring. I even baked pecan pies from scratch, the kind my family loved most, packed them neatly into a gift basket, and felt genuinely excited for the drive to my family's fancy Christmas party. But just hours before last Christmas, a phone call hit me like a slap in the face. They coldly told me that my job and my vibe would drag the party's mood down. I didn't argue. I just smiled, faintly swallowed my words, and stayed silent. On the night of the party, when my sister's boyfriend happened to see my photo, he broke up with her on the spot. 2 days later, the very same sister, the one who had kicked me out of the party, texted me in a pleading tone, "Joanna, please talk to me." Before we dive into today's story, tell me, what time is it, where you are, and which city are you watching from? Who knows, we might be neighbors. The sound of the phone ringing that day still echoes in my memory, a blow that left me stunned. My dad, Roger Young, was on the line. His voice calm but cutting, like he was delivering a verdict. "Joanna, we're serious," he said. "Tara's worked hard to make this party perfect for her career. Your job, all that number crunching, doesn't fit the mood we're going for." My fingers tightened around the phone, my pulse hammering. He didn't pause. "Tara's new boyfriend, Wade Parker, is a big name in interior design. She's trying to impress him and his friends. You'd make things awkward, throw off the whole vibe." I stayed quiet, my jaw clenched. Then my sister Tara Hayes, a famous fashion influencer, jumped in. She'd been on speaker the whole time. "Joanna, come on," she said, her tone dripping with that fake sweetness she saved for her Instagram followers. "You're always so serious talking about budgets and clients. You wouldn't enjoy the party anyway. Just sit this one out, okay? It's better for everyone." Her voice had that smug edge, like she was doing me a favor by cutting me out. I muttered a shaky fine and hung up my chest tight, like someone had sucked the air out of me. I sank onto my couch, their words stinging like a fresh cut. They didn't just want me gone, they acted like I was some dull stranger who'd ruin their perfect night. It wasn't new, but it hurt more than usual. My family had always put Tara on a pedestal, the star who could do no wrong. Growing up, she was the one they bragged about. Her dance recitals got framed photos on the mantle. My math awards got tossed in a drawer. When she was 16 and crashed her first car, my parents called it a learning moment. When I forgot to do the dishes at 12, I got a lecture about being careless. Tara's life was all glamour photo shoots, brand deals, trips to LA for fashion events. My life, late nights balancing books for nonprofits, quiet dinners alone, and a bank account drained from helping my family. Last summer, I paid their overdue electric bill $2,000 when their power was about to be cut. The year before, I covered $5,000 for a new roof after a storm tore theirs apart. 2 years ago, I paid $800 for their water bill when it spiked. Once I even shelled out $3,000 for a car repair when their old sedan broke down. They never thanked me, never even mentioned it. To them, my work was just boring, something to shrug off while they fawned over Tara's latest Instagram post. I thought back to when I was 10, sitting at the kitchen table with my homework, hoping my mom, Glenda Young, would notice my perfect report card. She was too busy gushing over Tara's new cheerleading routine. "You're going to be a star, honey," she'd say, her eyes sparkling. If I tried to share something, she'd give me a quick, "That's nice, Joanna," and turn back to Tara. My dad was no better. He'd tell neighbors about Tara's creative spark, but couldn't name a single client I worked for. Once I left my accounting certificate on the counter, hoping they'd ask about it. It ended up under a pile of Tara's fashion magazines. 3 years ago, Tara moved back home after a failed clothing line. They turned my old bedroom into her creative studio filled with fabric swatches and mood boards. I'd just landed a major contract managing accounts for 12 nonprofits. I told them at dinner, expecting maybe a smile, a question, anything. My mom said, "That sounds like a lot of work, and pivoted to Tara's next big idea. My dad didn't even look up from his plate. I stopped sharing after that, but I kept helping covering their internet bill for $600 when it was overdue, paying $2,000 for a plumbing fix when their pipes burst. They took it all, no questions asked. This call, though, was different. It wasn't just them ignoring me. It was them erasing me to keep Tara's image pristine. I could picture her at the party, all glitz and charm, playing the star while I sat alone, invisible again. The thought twisted in my gut, sharp and bitter. I wasn't raging, just wounded, like a bruise you don't notice until you press it. I'd always been the one to fix their problems, the one who paid when they came up short. But this time, they'd gone too far. I decided I wouldn't go. Not because they asked, but because I couldn't stomach another night of being their afterthought. I set my phone down, ignoring the urge to call back and argue. I'd spent years being the practical one, the one who kept their world from falling apart. But now I was done. I leaned back, my mind buzzing with a quiet resolve. I didn't go to the party, but I heard about it soon enough. A friend who'd been invited texted me the next morning, her message short, but loaded. "Joanna, what happened last night?" Your name came up, and it got messy. My stomach dropped. I wasn't there, but somehow I'd stirred up trouble. She didn't have details, just said there was yelling and Tara's boyfriend Wade left early. I sat on my couch scrolling through Instagram, where hints of the night were already popping up, glossy photos of Tara in a sparkly dress, smiling like nothing was wrong. But something was off. I could feel it. That afternoon, I pieced it together from whispers on social media and a few more texts from friends who'd been there. The party was at my parents' fancy apartment, all decked out for Tara's big night. She'd invited her fashion crowd, people who lived for likes and brand deals. Wade Parker, her new boyfriend, was the star guest, a hotshot interior designer with a knack for turning spaces into art. Tara had planned every detail to impress him, to lock in their relationship and maybe score a collaboration. My family was all in, playing the perfect hosts to boost her image. But then it fell apart. From what I heard, the night was going smoothly, wine flowing, laughter loud, until someone brought up my name. It wasn't intentional, just a casual remark during a toast. My dad, Roger Young, raised his glass and said something like, "To Tara, our star, keeping things lively tonight." Someone, maybe a friend of Tara's, laughed and added, "Yeah, good thing your sister's not here to bore us with her spreadsheets." The room chuckled, and my mom, Glenda Young, joined in. "Oh, Joanna's sweet. But she's so serious," she said, her tone light but sharp. "We told her to skip this one, keep the vibe fun." That's when Wade froze. He was standing by the fireplace holding a drink when he glanced at a photo on the wall, a family picture from Tara's birthday 5 years ago. I was in it, smiling awkwardly, my glasses slipping down my nose. He stared at it, his face going pale like he'd seen a ghost. Someone noticed and asked if he was okay. Wade didn't answer right away. Instead, he turned to Tara and said, "Joanna, that's your sister, right? The one you didn't invite." His voice was low, but it cut through the chatter. Tara laughed it off, trying to keep things light. "Yeah, she's not big on parties," she said, waving her hand. "She's all about her boring accounting stuff." But Wade wasn't buying it. He set his glass down, his jaw tight. "Boring," he said, loud enough for the room to go quiet. "You're calling the woman who saved my life boring?" The air shifted like someone had flipped a switch. My parents exchanged looks, caught off guard. Tara's smile faltered, but she tried to play it cool. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her voice shaky. Wade didn't hold back. He told the room, every guest, every friend of Tara's, how I'd saved him the summer before last. I'd been working for a nonprofit, crunching numbers for a community project he was designing. I found something off in the books: shady transfers, fake investment deals. It was a money laundering scheme, and Wade had unknowingly signed contracts that could have tied him to it. I caught it just in time, warned him, and worked with the nonprofit's lawyer to tip off the police. If I hadn't, he could have lost everything: his business, his savings, maybe even his freedom. Prison was a real possibility, and he knew it. You didn't invite her? Wade said, his voice rising, because you thought she'd ruin your perfect little party. He turned to my parents, his eyes blazing. You told her not to come, said she'd make things dull. She's the reason I'm standing here, and you treat her like she's nothing. Tara stammered, trying to explain, but Wade was done. He grabbed his coat, looked her dead in the eye, and said, "We're over. I can't be with someone who disrespects a woman like that." He walked out, leaving the room in stunned silence. By midnight, Wade had posted about it on Instagram. It wasn't long, but it was brutal, calm, sharp, and straight to the point. He wrote about how I'd saved him from a scam that could have ruined his life, how my family had mocked me, kept me away to protect their image. He didn't name names, but he didn't have to. Tara's followers knew exactly who he meant. The post blew up, shared and liked thousands of times by morning. Comments poured in, calling out my family's behavior, praising me for something I hadn't even planned to reveal. I sat there reading the post on my phone, my heart pounding. I hadn't been at the party, hadn't said a word, but somehow I'd turned their night upside down. For years I'd been invisible to them, the one they brushed aside while they fawned over Tara. Now in one moment someone had seen me, really seen me for what I'd done. It wasn't about revenge, not really. It was about the truth coming out raw and unfiltered right when they least expected it. 2 days after Christmas, my phone lit up with Tara's name. I was in my apartment sipping cold coffee, still processing what I'd heard about the party. I almost let it go to voicemail, but curiosity got the better of me. I answered, and her voice came through frantic, nothing like the polished tone she used online. "Joanna, you have to help me," she said, words tumbling out. "Wade's post is everywhere. People are tearing me apart online. They're calling me ungrateful fake. You need to talk to him. Make him take it down." I leaned back, my heart racing, not from sympathy, but from the sheer nerve of her. I stayed silent, letting her ramble. "It's ruining everything," she went on. "My followers are dropping brands, are DMing me with questions. This could tank my career. You don't get how serious this is." Her voice cracked, but I could tell it was more about her image than any real regret. I took a breath, keeping my tone even. "Why should I help you, Tara?" I asked. "You didn't want me at your party. You said I'd make it dull." She stammered, caught off guard. "That's not what I meant," she said. "It was just for the vibe, you know. No one meant to hurt you." Before I could respond, another call came through. My Aunt Fern Morgan, the one relative who never forgot my birthday. I told Tara I'd call her back, though I wasn't sure I would. Fern's voice was soft but urgent when I picked up. "Joanna, I heard about the party," she said. "I wasn't there, but a friend filled me in. They were talking about you, and it wasn't kind." I gripped the phone, my stomach tightening. "What did they say?" I asked, bracing myself. Fern hesitated, like she didn't want to hurt me more. "They called you boring," she said. "Said your accounting work made you too serious for their fancy crowd. Your mom Glenda told everyone it was better you didn't come, kept the mood light. Your dad Roger nodded along, saying you'd probably talk about budgets and ruin the fun. They didn't know Wade was listening or what it would lead to." I closed my eyes, the words landing like punches. I'd known they didn't value me, but hearing it laid out like that, so casual, so cruel, hit differently. I thanked Fern and hung up, my mind spinning. Tara's call was still fresh, her desperation ringing in my ears. She hadn't apologized, hadn't even acknowledged what they'd done. She just wanted me to clean up her mess like I'd always done, paying their bills, fixing their problems, staying invisible. I pulled up Wade's post on my phone, reading it again. It was sharp, honest, calling out how they'd mocked me, excluded me after I'd saved him from a money laundering scam that could have ruined his life. The comments were brutal, people slamming Tara, my parents, their fake smiles. For once, I wasn't the one being ignored. I called Tara back, not because I wanted to, but because I needed to say it out loud. "I'm not talking to Wade," I said before she could start. "I'm not fixing this for you." Her voice turned sharp, almost accusing. "Joanna, this is serious. My career's on the line. You can't just sit there and do nothing. I laughed, a dry, bitter sound I didn't recognize. Do nothing, I said. I've done everything for this family. I paid your bills, fixed your house, kept you afloat. And you couldn't even let me through the door for Christmas. She went quiet, but only for a moment. That's not fair, she said, her tone defensive. We just wanted the party to be perfect. You don't understand how much pressure I'm under. I cut her off. I understand plenty, I said. You made me feel like I didn't exist, like my work. My life was nothing. Wade saw the truth. I'm not erasing it for you. I hung up my hands, shaking, but not from anger. For the first time, I felt steady, like I'd finally drawn a line. I sat there staring at my phone, the weight of it sinking in. Fern's words echoed, my family laughing, calling me boring, acting like I was a problem to be avoided. But Wade's post had flipped their script. He'd seen me, not the version they painted, but the real me, the one who'd saved him from losing everything. I wasn't gloating, wasn't celebrating their downfall. I was just done carrying their weight. They'd built their world on dismissing me, and now that world was cracking. I didn't start the fire, but I wasn't going to put it out either. A few weeks after that party, I heard a knock at my apartment door. I wasn't expecting anyone, so I peeked through the peephole and saw them. My dad, Roger Young, my mom, Glenda Young, and Tara, standing there like they were staging an intervention. My stomach tightened, but I opened the door, leaning against the frame with my arms crossed. They shuffled in, their faces a mix of determination and unease. I didn't offer them a seat. I knew this wasn't a social call. My dad spoke first, his voice firm, like he was laying down the law. "Joanna, we need to talk," he said. "This thing with Wade's post, it's gone too far. Tara's getting dragged online. Her reputation's taking a hit. You need to reach out to him, get him to take it down." I raised an eyebrow, letting the silence stretch. Tara jumped in, her voice sharp with desperation. "Joanna, my career's on the line," she said. "People are unfollowing me, brands are pulling back. You can't just sit there and let this happen." I looked at her, then at my parents, their eyes fixed on me like I was the key to fixing their mess. My mom stepped forward, her tone softer but no less insistent. "We've always supported you," she said. "We raised you, gave you everything. Now it's your turn to help us. Talk to Wade, clear this up." Her words landed like a jab, twisting something deep inside me. Supported me. They'd spent years fawning over Tara, brushing me aside like an afterthought. I took a slow breath, keeping my voice steady. "Help you?" I said. "I've been helping you for years. You just never noticed." Tara rolled her eyes like I was being dramatic. "What are you talking about?" she snapped. "This isn't about you. It's about my life falling apart." I didn't flinch. Instead, I walked to my desk, pulled open a drawer, and grabbed a folder I'd kept for moments like this. It was thick with receipts, bank statements, proof of every dollar I'd poured into their lives. I spread the papers on the table one by one, like laying out evidence in a courtroom. "This," I said, holding up a receipt, "is the $2,000 I paid for your electric bill last summer when your power was about to be cut." I tossed another down. "This is $5,000 for the new roof after that storm wrecked your house." I kept going, my voice calm but unyielding. $800 for the water bill when it spiked. $3,000 for your car repair when that old sedan broke down. $600 for your internet when you fell behind. $2,000 for the plumbing fix when your pipes burst. They stared at the papers, their faces frozen. My dad's jaw tightened, but he didn't speak. My mom looked down, her hands fidgeting. Tara's eyes darted between the receipts, her mouth half open like she wanted to argue but couldn't find the words. "I've been keeping your world together," I said, my voice rising just enough to cut through. "Every time you came up short, I stepped in. No questions, no thanks. And what did I get? A phone call telling me I'm too boring to show up for Christmas." Tara tried to interrupt, her voice shaky. "That's not what we meant," she said. "We just wanted the party to be perfect. You don't understand the pressure I'm under." I held up a hand, stopping her. "I understand plenty," I said. You wanted me gone so you could play the star. You mocked me, acted like I was nothing while I was paying for your life. And now you want me to fix your mess? No, I'm done. My dad finally spoke, his tone clipped. Joanna, we're family, he said. You don't turn your back on family? I met his eyes unflinching. Family, I said. You turned your back on me first. You told me not to come, said I'd ruin your night. You made it clear I don't belong. Why should I care about your reputation now? My mom's face crumpled, but she didn't argue. Tara's eyes flashed with anger. You're being selfish, she said. This is bigger than you. I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. Selfish, I said. I've been the opposite of selfish my whole life. I gave you everything, money times silence. You took it all and gave me nothing but excuses. Wade saw the truth, and so does everyone else now. I'm not calling him. I'm not fixing this. The room went still, the air heavy with their silence. My dad clenched his fists, his face red. My mom looked away, her lips pressed tight. Tara stared at me, her confidence gone, replaced by something raw, panic maybe, or shame. They didn't say another word. My dad turned first, heading for the door. My mom followed, her head down. Tara lingered for a moment, like she thought I'd change my mind. I didn't. She walked out last, the door clicking shut behind them. I stood there, the folder of receipts still open on the table, my heart steady for the first time in years. They'd come expecting me to save them like I always had. But this time, I chose myself. A few months after that confrontation, the fallout hit my family hard. Tara's perfect world started to crumble, and I heard about it through the grapevine, friends of friends, whispers on social media, the kind of news that spreads like wildfire in a small city like Madison. Her big break, a $50,000 ad deal with a major fashion brand, fell through. The company didn't say it outright, but everyone knew why. Wade's Instagram post, the one that laid bare how they'd treated me, was still circulating, shared and reshared by thousands. It painted Tara as shallow, ungrateful, the kind of person who'd dismiss someone who'd saved her boyfriend's life. Brands didn't want that kind of baggage. Her follower count tanked, and her carefully curated image took a hit she couldn't spin. My parents' situation wasn't any better. Without my help, their finances unraveled. For years I'd been the one keeping them afloat. $2,000 for the electric bill, $5,000 for the roof, $800 for water, $3,000 for car repairs, $600 for internet, $2,000 for plumbing. When I stopped, the gaps I'd been filling became impossible to ignore. Madison's cost of living, about $3,000 a month for their lifestyle, was too much without my checks. They put their house up for sale, a modest 3-bedroom they'd lived in for decades. I heard from a neighbor it sold fast at a loss just to cover their debts. They moved into a smaller rental across town, a downgrade that stung their pride. I didn't reach out, didn't check on them. I'd spent years being their safety net, only to be pushed aside for Tara's spotlight. When I saw a notification on my phone one morning, I half expected another plea from her, another attempt to pull me back into their mess. Instead, it was a message from Wade. It was short, direct, the kind of thing you don't expect from someone you've never really met. Joanna, he wrote, I never got to thank you properly. You saved me from losing everything, my business, my freedom, all of it. I'm sorry for what your family did. You deserve better. I read it twice, my throat tight. It wasn't just about the money laundering scheme. I'd caught the one that could have landed him in prison. It was about someone seeing me, really seeing me for the first time in a long time. I didn't respond right away. I sat with his words, letting them settle. For years, I'd been invisible to my family, my dad, Roger Young, with his lectures about Tara's potential. My mom, Glenda Young, with her endless praise for Tara's posts. Tara herself, always the star, always the one who mattered. Wade's message wasn't long, but it carried weight. It reminded me of what I'd done, not just for him, but for so many others through my work, balancing books, saving nonprofits from collapse, keeping things steady when no one else would. I'd never needed their applause, but I'd craved their acknowledgement. Wade gave me that without me asking. After that, I made a choice. I blocked their numbers, my dad's, my mom's, Tara's. I unfollowed Tara's Instagram, muted her stories, and stopped checking for updates. I didn't need to hear their excuses or see their new rental. I didn't want their apologies if they were even capable of giving them. I'd spent too long waiting for them to value me, to see me as more than the boring one who paid their bills. I was done waiting. I deleted their voicemails, cleared their texts, and let the silence take over. The first few weeks were strange, like stepping into a room you don't recognize. I'd catch myself wondering if they'd call, if they'd try to pull me back. But they didn't. Maybe they were too proud, or maybe they knew I'd meant it when I said I was done. Either way, the quiet felt good, like a weight lifting off my chest. I started sleeping better, no longer waking up to the stress of their next crisis. My apartment felt like mine again, not a place where I'd sit worrying about their unpaid bills. I took on new clients, nonprofits that valued my work, and for the first time, I felt like I was building something for myself. Since that winter, I've had a lot of time to think. Cutting my family out wasn't easy, but it was the first time I felt truly free. For years, I'd carried their weight, always hoping they'd see me for who I was, not just the quiet one who fixed their problems. I'd waited for my dad, Roger Young, to notice my work, for my mom, Glenda Young, to ask about my life, for Tara to treat me like more than a shadow. But they never did. They chose Tara's spotlight over me every time. And I let them, thinking that's what family does, stick around no matter what. That Christmas changed everything. It wasn't just about them telling me not to come or the way they brushed me off like I was nothing. It was about realizing I didn't need their approval to know my worth. I'd spent so long trying to fit into their world, to be the person they might one day value. I poured my energy into their needs, thinking it would earn me a place at their table. But I was wrong. My worth wasn't in their hands, it was in mine. Looking back, I see how much I gave up for them. I worked late nights, took on extra clients, stretched myself thin to keep their lives running. I thought that's what love looked like, sacrificing, staying silent, hoping they'd notice. But love doesn't mean erasing yourself. It doesn't mean letting people walk over you or pretending you don't matter just to keep the peace. I learned that the hard way, but I learned it. And once I did, I couldn't unlearn it. I think about Wade sometimes, not because I know him well, but because his words stuck with me. He saw me not as the boring accountant they painted, but as someone who made a difference. That moment when he stood up for me, when he called out their lies, gave me something I hadn't felt in years: validation. Not from my family, but from someone who owed me nothing. It was a reminder that my value didn't depend on their approval. It was there all along, in the work I did, the people I helped, the life I built. I've changed since then. I stopped checking my phone for their calls, stopped wondering if they'd reach out with an apology. I used to think family was everything, that no matter how much they hurt you, you had to hold on. But I was wrong about that too. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is walk away. I don't hate them, my dad, my mom, Tara. I just don't need them anymore. I've built a life that's mine, one where I'm not waiting for someone else to tell me I'm enough. My work feels different now. I still balance books, still crunch numbers for nonprofits, but it's not just a job anymore. It's a choice, a way to make a difference for people who value it. I've taken on new projects, ones that excite me, like helping a local shelter get back on its feet. I've made new connections, people who see me for who I am, not who I'm not. My apartments become a space where I can breathe, where I'm not weighed down by their expectations or their crises. I don't wish them ill. I don't sit around thinking about their struggles, wondering if they're okay. That's not my burden anymore. I've let go of the need to fix them, to be their safety net. They made their choices, and I've made mine. For the first time, I'm not living for their approval or their acknowledgement or their love. I'm living for me. And that's enough. If you're watching this, I want you to think about your own life. Have you ever felt invisible, like your worth was tied to what others think of you? Have you ever poured everything into people who didn't see you, who didn't care? I'm here to tell you, You don't need their validation. Your value isn't in their hands. It's in the way you show up, the work you do, the person you are, when no one's watching. Stand up for yourself. Draw your line. Walk away if you have to. It's not selfish, it's survival. And it's the first step to finding peace. Drop your story in the comments. Tell me about a time you had to choose yourself when you realized you didn't need someone else's approval to know your worth. Let's talk about it. And if this hit home, hit that subscribe button. There's more to come.